You gave my son food for free. Maggie blinked up at the tall stranger standing in her doorway. His sharp grey eyes locked onto hers. Rain dripped from his expensive coat, pulling onto her worn-out welcome mat. Something about the way he said it, calm, deliberate, sent a shiver down her spine. I'm sorry, what she stammered, gripping the door frame. The man studied her for a long moment before sliding an envelope onto a rickety table. I don't believe in charity, he said, his voice low, but I do believe in paying debts, and whether you realize it or not, I owe you. Maggie stared at the envelope, then back at him. Who is this man, and why did it feel like her life was about to chain forever? Rain streaked down the grimy windows of Haven Street. Diner? A modest little place tucked between a pawn shop and a laundromat in downtown Chicago. Inside, the air smelled of sizzling bacon and burnt coffee. A comforting hum of chatter filling the space. Maggie Harper wiped her hands on her faded apron, her chestnut hair slipping from its messy bun. After a 12-hour shift at 28, Maggie was a kind of woman who wore exhaustion like a badge of honor. Her hazel eyes still sparkled with warmth despite the endless grind of white dressing. She barely made enough to cover her rent in a cramped apartment 3 blocks away. But what little she earned in tips, she often gave away a do here for the old man, shivering on the corner, a free coffee. There for the single mum who came in after night shifts. It was just who she was. Maggie had grown up poor, raised by a grandmother who taught her that kindness was the one currency that never ran out. She lived by that motto, even when it meant skipping her own meals or walking home to rain, because she'd given her last bus fare to someone else tonight. Though the diner was quieter than usual, the clock ticked toward 9 p.m., and only a few staggers remained, a trucker nursing a beer, a college kid hunched over a laptop. Maggie was wiping down the counter when something caught her eye. Outside, through the rain-spattered glass, she saw a small figure huddled near the diner's entrance. A boy no older than 8 sat in a wheelchair, his thin frame wrapped in a threadbare jacket, his dark hair plastered to his forehead as he stared at the ground, hands fidgeting with a fray blanket draped over his leg. Maggie's heart clenched. Without a second thought, she grabbed a clean towel from behind the counter and hurried outside, the cold rain stinging her skin. "Hey, sweetie," she said softly, crouching beside him. "What are you doing out here all alone?" The boy looked up, his wide blue eyes shimmering with uncertainty. I'm waiting for someone," he mumbled, his voice barely audible over the patter of rain. Maggie frowned. Glancing around, the street was empty. No sign of a parent or guardian. "Well, you can't stay out here in this mess. Come inside with me, okay? It's warm, and I've got something special for you." The boy hesitated, then nodded. Shyly, Maggie wheeled him into the diner, settling him at a booth near the radiator. "I'm Maggie," she said, with a grin draping the towel over his shoulders. "What's your name, Tommy?" he replied, a small smile tugging at his lips as he warmed up. "Tommy! Huh, that's a strong wrong name now. How about some food you like, grilled cheese?" She didn't wait for an answer, already heading to the kitchen. Minutes later, she returned with a steaming plate, a golden grilled cheese sandwich, and a mug of tomato soup, her go-to comfort meal. "This one's on me," she said, tucking a napkin into his lap. "Eat up, kiddo." Tommy's eyes lit up as he took a bite, the cheese stretching in gooey strings. "This is the best thing I've ever had," he said. "G? L?" Maggie laughed, sitting across from him, chatting about silly things, favorite colors, superheroes, anything to keep that smile on his face for a moment. The world outside the diner faded away. What Maggie didn't know was that someone was watching across the street, a sleek, black Bentley eye in the shadows, its tinted windows reflecting the neon glow of the diner sign. Inside, Victor Grayson sat in silence, his sharp grey eyes fixed on the scene unfolding through the glass. At 45, Victor was a titan of industry, CEO of Grayson Technologies, a multi-billion-dollar empire built on cutting-edge software and ruthless ambition. His tailored suit in silver cufflinks marked him as a man who belonged in boardrooms. Not this gritty corner Chicago, but tonight he wasn't here for business, he was here for Tommy. Victor had parked the car block away, intending to grab his son after a quick call with his overseas investors. Tommy's nurse had quit unexpectedly that morning, leaving Victor scrambling to juggle fatherhood and his empire. He told Tommy to wait by the diner while he sorted out the mess. But he hadn't expected this through the rain. He saw Maggie, Will. Tommy inside saw her kneel beside him, saw the way his son's face lit up as she fed him. Victor's chest tightened, a rare flicker of emotion breaking through his steely exterior. He pulled out his phone and dialed as the assistant. "Clara, get down a Haven Street diner, now no suit, no heels, just jeans and a hoodie. I need you here in 20 minutes. Clara, ever efficient, didn't question him on my way. Sir Victor leaned back, his mind racing. He'd spent years building walls around his company, his heart, his son, Tommy's condition. A rare neuromuscular disorder had turned Victor into a man obsessed with control, hiring the best doctors, the best caregivers, but no amount of money could buy the kind of warmth he saw in that. "Diner window, who is this woman and why did she care?" Half an hour later, Clara slipped into the diner, her blonde hair tucked under a faded cap. She spotted Tommy, instantly still chatting with Maggie, who was now pouring him a glass of milk. CLA approached the booth, forcing a casual smile. "Hey, Tommy, time to go, bud, your rid's waiting." Tommy pouted, clutching his half-eaten sandwich. "Can't I finish first?" Maggie glanced at Clara, her instincts kicking in. "You know him?" she asked, her tone gentle but protective. Clara nodded quickly. "Yeah, I'm his aunt, just picking him up for his dad." Maggie studied her for a moment, then smiled. "All right, sweetie, you take care. Okay, come back anytime." She handed Tommy a napkin, WRA cookie from the counter for the road. Tommy beamed. "Thanks, Maggie, you're the best, Clara." Wheeled him out, her heart pounding, as she crossed the street to the Bentley. Victor stepped out, his imposing figure softened slightly as he knelt beside a son. "Hey, champ, did you have fun in there?" Tommy nodded eagerly. "Maggie, so nice, Dad. She gave me food for free and said it's because kindness doesn't cost anything. She didn't even ask for money." Monet, Victor's throat tightened free in a world where everything had a price. This woman had given his son something priceless. He ruffled Tommy's hair, masking the storm of emotions brewing inside him. "Get in the car, kiddo, I'll be right there." As Clara buckled Tommy in, Victor lingered, glancing back at the diner. Maggie was back at the counter, wiping it down like nothing had happened. He climbed into the driver's seat and turned to Clara. "Find out everything about her name, address, background. Everything I want to be you tomorrow." Back at his penthouse, overlooking Lake Michigan, Victor couldn't sleep. The city lights glitter below, but his mind was stuck on Haven Street. Tommy's words echoed in his head. "She gave me food for free." Victor had seen kindness before, calculated performative acts from people who knew who he was, who wanted something from him. But this was different. Maggie hadn't known Tommy was a son. She hadn't known anyone was watching. And yet she'd acted like it was the most natural thing in the world. By morning, Clara delivered a slim folder to his desk. Margaret Harper, 28 lives in a one-bedroom on West Taylor Street. No family, no college degree. Been at Haven Street Diner for 5 years. Barely scraping by. Ren lay half the time, that's all I could dig up. Victor flipped through pages, his jaw tightening. An ordinary life, stretched thin by circumstance, and yet she gave what little she had. He closed the folder and stood. "I'm going to see her." Clara blinked. "So you mean now," he said, grabbing his coat. Maggie trudged home that night, her sneaker soaked from rain. Her shift had been brutal. Spilled coffee, a rude customer, and a measly $12 in tips, half, which he'd slipped to the homeless guy outside the diner. She fumbled with her keys, her apartment door creaking open to reveal a dim, sparsely furnished space. She was about to collapse onto her lumpy couch when a knock startled her. Peering through the peephole, she saw a tall man in a dark coat, his face shadowed but undeniably striking. Her stomach flipped. Nobody knocked on her door at this hour. Cautiously, she opened a crack. "Can I help you?" "Margaret Harper." His voice was low, commanding. Yeah, who are you, Victor Grayson?" He paused, letting the name hang there when her puzzled expression didn't change. She added, "I need to talk to you. May I come in?" Maggie hesitated, then stepped aside, her curiosity outweighing her weariness. Victor stepped into the tiny living room, his presence overwhelming the space. He glanced around. No TV, a single chair, a stack of library books on the table. "You live simply," he said, almost to himself. "Yeah, well, I get by," Maggie replied, crossing her arms. "What's this about, Victor?" Turned to her, his gaze piercing. "Yesterday, you helped a boy in a wheelchair, fed him, kept him warm. That boy was my son Tommy. I was parking the car when you took him in." Maggie's eyes widened. "Tommy's your kid. He was just sitting there and I couldn't leave him out in the rain. Is he okay?" "He's fine," Victor said, his tone softening. "Better than fine, thanks to you. He told me what you did, how you didn't charge him, how you treated him like he mattered. I've been thinking about that all night." Maggie shrugged, flustered. "It was nothing. Just a sandwich." "It wasn't nothing to me," Victor countered. He reached into his coat and pulled out an envelope, sliding AC across the table. "I want you to work for me. Grayson Technologies, a real job, 6 figures, benefits, the works." Maggie stared at the envelope, then at him, her mouth falling open. "You're kidding, right? I'm a waitress. I don't know anything about tech. Or whatever you do, I don't need you to know tech," Victor said firmly. "I need someone with a heart like yours. Someone who does the right thing when no one's looking. That's rare than you think." She shook her head, backing away. "This is crazy. Why me?" "Because you saw my son. Not my money, not my name," Victor said, his voice cracking slightly. "Do you know how few people do that? I've got a company full of sharks, Maggie. I need someone I can trust." Maggie's hands trembled. As she opened the envelope, inside was a contract, her name typed in bold. She looked up at him, tears pricking her eyes. "I don't know what to say." "Say yes," Victor replied, "but there's one condition. Never stop being kind, no matter what." Maggie said yes, but her journey was just beginning. Her first day at Grayson Technologies was a whirlwind. Glass offices, endless meetings and whispers about the waitress Victor had hired out of nowhere. Some saw her as a charity case, others suspected an ulterior motive. Then a month in, the twist came. Clara approached your desk one afternoon, her face pale. "Maggie, we got a problem. Someone's leaking company secret sensitive stuff." Victor's furious. "And he thinks it might be you." Maggie's heart sank. "I don't even understand half this stuff. Why would he?" "He doesn't want to believe it," Clara said, lowering her voice. "But someone saw you talking to a guy from a rival firm at the diner last week. It's suspicious timing." Maggie remembered a regular from Haven Street had stopped by, asking about her new job. She thought nothing of it. Now it could cost her everything. Victor called her into his office that evening, his expression unreadable. "Maggie, I took a chance on you. Tell me I wasn't wrong. I swear, Victor, I'd never betray you or Tommy," she said, her voice shaking. "I don't know who's doing this, but it's not me." He studied her for a long moment, then nodded. "I believe you, but we got to find the real leak." "Help me," Maggie and Victor teamed up, digging through records and tracing the leak. It led them to a senior executive, jealous of Maggie's rise, who framed and protect his own, shady dealings with evidence in hand. Victor fired him on the spot, his trust in Maggie cemented years later. Maggie stood at Tommy's high school graduation, now a VP at Grayson Technologies. Victor, gray but proud, sat beside her, Tommy grinning from his wheelchair on stage. The diner days were a distant memory, but Maggie never forgot her promise. She launched a foundation in Tommy's name, feeding kids across Chicago, proving kindness could build an empire of its own.